It's just up.
Just up right now,
But I can leave it open in case anyone turns it up.
we'll leave it open. Okay. All right, so. All right, so, well, what you doing that, and I'll get to Jay and.
Okay, perfect.
So if you all want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, well, I'll just start with the questions you asked me to answer. So number one is to talk about yourself, okay? My name is Jay Kessler from Atlanta, Georgia. I've been in real estate since I was 13 years old, which was almost 70 years ago. My grandfather made a down payment on some houses and back then for $37.50 a month. And that's what I then went into a family business, and I was always doing real estate on the side, bought some apartments, and did pretty good with that. And then I gradually started, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to get out of retail, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And so I built 2 houses, and that was the end of the house for I was concerned in what the details would be. I had a friend of mine that did hard labor. And I talked to him, and then I finally realized that I got to know 3 things: the value of property, I got to have capital, and I've got to have, and I have to know how to close the deal. That's the only 3 things I have to know. I did that's the business. So, okay. So I started making loans. I remember my first loan I made to a guy was $10,000, and his son was in shambles. At that time, I was doing owner occupied and top hand speed credit. And I made one for $10,000, and I started turning that cheap. At that time, I used my place going down to the public library, and I didn't have a secretary, so I went to a public. At the same time, and so that's how I got into the mortgage business. My claim, I guess, is whatever you call it, is that I consider myself a band-aid. My job is to get you from point A to point B as painless as possible. I call myself an expensive mortgage, but I'm a very cheap partner. That's that kind of loans that come to me in two ways. They're opportunity loans. Somebody's going to redevelop a piece of property, redo a warehouse, flip a house, clean up a house, whatever it is. I call it opportunity. And where I can come in with the opportunity is I can close the loan in 5 days. My record is 9 o'clock in the morning, and then we're going to close at 2 o'clock there. That's what I call the unbreakable loans. Those are the ones I really like. I'm having to spend my health. I'm having to spend my health out. I had a lawyer that came in. I had a house from process of the foreclosed. He's a commercial property. I went in the money to get the truck, to pay off the mortgage on the house that was being foreclosed. Unfortunately, it turns out it's a good story. But unfortunately, I closed the loan Friday, and foreclosure was Tuesday, and the bank and he couldn't make contact with the buyer. So we went down to the courthouse steps and we bid it in the house for $5,000, 115 to pay off. No, it was 100. He bid it in for a high value for 110. The payoff was 115 at very short sale on courthouse steps. He didn't have a cashier's check. So he told the lawyer he'd be back in 30 minutes. The lawyer was nice enough to wait. And he ran to the bank, called my lawyer to stop his wire, sent him a wire to the bank, and came back to the courthouse steps and paid for the house back. One story, yeah. So not only did I save his house, but I got him the truck that he needed, and he started running, had a run from Savannah to Atlanta with his truck. And then he took him about 3 years to sell the property, and he sold the property for a week too. Wow. So that is his story. And then we had another guy, he owned a bunch of warehouses, and he was being foreclosed. And I came to him with a loan, and he did, and he said, I'm looking, I got a limit in California that's less expensive than you are. I said, make sure they close, because if they don't close, you're gonna be, you're gonna have to buy a bankruptcy. I hate to see you do that. He didn't take my advice, and they didn't close. Then he called me back, and I said, I talked to your lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, but I think you can reverse the foreclosure. I mean, the bankruptcy if you do it with 30 days in order to credit. 2 checks of that. So that's what he did. I lent him the money, and we had a wonderful relationship. I ended up lending him some more money to buy a piece of property that was in front of this piece of property. We would sell the whole thing 3 years later, 4 years later, 3 years total, 3 years later. So the end of his story was a beautiful story. Also, the other choice was to wrap it in bankruptcy, which was at least 3 years, and cost him a lot more money than I was starting. And that's how we got him out. On the, what I call the everyday loans, we do the fixed amount loans, some ground up construction. And the difference between me and a bank is, you're looking at the loan. Okay, this is, okay, and we can move pretty quick. And one thing I don't do is I don't judge people. I don't say send me more payments than people. Process is always that saying, you know you're not going to do the loan, you know it now. Call them up and tell them you're not going to do it. It's a quick no if you're not going to do it. It's much better than send me more papers when you know you're not going to do it. So that kind of thing. I'll give you a quick answer. I'm not going to keep asking. The other way on the equity lender, I do check credit. Within the last 8 to 10 years, I probably saved above 600. I have gotten down once around to the 500s. I used to be more on the lower end years ago. But we do check credit. But what we think pays us back is the property of something else. I have not had a foreclosure that has gone all the way since 2008 from my full career, which has been about 50 years, when we had a company that I have now, the foreclosure. I'm going to spend there. So that's what we're at. And we'll like to small. If the client's not better off to touch me than not to touch me, I have not do it. Yeah. I've got a wife and 3 lovely kids and 7 grandkids, and I do a lot of charity work. I watch a lot of charity.
And one thing, I have used their services before. So like, for me, my own personal story, and the way I ended up meeting them was, I was in the process of acquiring some properties. And I ended up using up all my cash on some properties. So I had all my property, all my cash tied up in these properties. And so another deal came along that just looked too good. So that's why I called these guys. And they came in because the window was really short that I had to acquire. So these guys came in, looked at everything, and we were able to finalize details on it within 7 days. And I believe we closed like on that 8th day. So it happened really fast. So when we say that they were able to close deals quickly, yeah, we're not kidding. We made up his mind. Like I was having conversations on the phone. So yeah, it happened very fast. Aaron, would you like to share something about your company, like so a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so, Erin D. Armith, Onward Home Mortgage Town. I've been in the business, just 10 years. You heard a little bit before, born and raised in the Midwest, then hated winter growing up, moved to California, met my husband there. And we moved here just 10 years ago. I got into the business, we met working for a home builder out in California. So my husband and I both worked for Pulte Homes. I did marketing and stuff like that. That through 2008, 2010, 11, not the funnest time to be working for a home builder. And then coming out here, we just kind of decided we were ready to get out of California. My parents had moved down here from up north like 6 months after I moved out west. So I was visiting them here like for 9 years while I was living up there. We were just like, you know what? We're ready to move. We're ready to do something different. So I ended up meeting the president of our company, who's no longer the president. He's retired, but he's the one who started our branch here 30 years ago. And he was in charge of my business. So when I'm here visiting, I met him, he's like, have you ever thought of mortgages? And I was like, not really. Because in my mind, mortgages, I went to school for a business degree because I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. But it's me, you know, I'm thinking mortgage is like stuffy, like you're in a bank, you know, just like, that's not for me. So when he kind of told me a little bit about what Shelter Mortgage is, our parent company, and that, you know, they really place loan officers in real estate offices. So it's really about relationships and all that. And I was like, oh, I'm a people person, that's appealing. So that's kind of how I fell into it. It wasn't really like my dream, but I ended up loving it. So the whole first year I assisted 3 loan officers to kind of learn the ropes, get my license, and then spent several years in the KW office in town Atlanta, but I live in Swanee as we were talking, and that's a really, really long drive. So after COVID, I was like, you know what? I think I'm done with that. So just got to this office a couple months ago. Absolutely love it. As far as what we do, so you guys work together? Okay, so they're doing hard money. So these are like, this stuff we can't do, you know, so it's always good for me to know good hard money lenders. So when I'm doing stuff or clients or agents are asking me, I'd be like, no, that's not a loan for me, that's a loan for them. What we do as far as the investment side, I know that's what we're really here talking about. Obviously, conventional loans have an investment product that's going to be your best terms as far as rate, you know, down payment, stuff like that. But that is a full doc loan. You've got to qualify DTI-wise, all that good stuff. We also have a suite of portfolio products that are more outside the box, somewhere in between what we do. And that's going to be, there's a specific investor loan that's a DSCR loan, which stands for debt service coverage ratio. That one is not a full doc loan. There is not a DTI calculation. But this is not a flip loan. These are loans that you're going to hold really 6 months as the minimum. So, you know, if you're ever looking for something to fix and flip or whatever, that's going to be hard money. If you've got an investor that's looking to hold something or looking to buy rentals, that's something we do. So that would be the SmartVest is what our loan is, the DSCR loan. If they've got a bunch of properties or they've got a bunch of businesses and don't want all that paperwork, that's the kind of product that can get them in there where we're really looking at the value of the property, what the market rent is for the property, because again, these are rentals. And we're comparing that to what the full monthly payment projection is for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And as long as the rental income is higher than that payment, that property qualifies. So it's really just credit score, we're looking at assets, and we're looking at the property and appraising it. So that's the SmartVest loan. The rates are a little bit higher, obviously, than conventional, because again, we're in the portfolio range, but really, really great loan. So as far as the investors, that's really what we focus on. But obviously, you all know we do all of the other normal stuff, but investment properties, it's really the ones that your clients are wanting to hang on to and rent, is what you'd be coming in for.
Does the property have to be in a certain condition?
It has to be livable. Well, okay, let me say this. For conventional, it's gotta be livable unless you're doing a renovation. Now, you can do a renovation investment loan, that's, but on the DSCR loan, the Smart Vest property, it can be not great condition, but your rent schedule is going to reflect that. So sometimes it's hard, like I had one guy who was trying to buy something and he was planning on going in and doing some work to the property. The problem is, we're looking at what the loan, what the payment is for him to buy it. And then when we have that rent schedule done with the appraisal, they're saying, hey, this is what it would bring in rent as is. So they don't figure out what it would bring for rent once he puts new appliances and carpet and does all this kind of stuff. So that's where you run into it. There's not a specific, it can't be half torn apart, no. It has to be assumed that someone could live in it. If it's really, really ugly or lower condition than most of the surrounding rentals, you'll see that lower rent schedule come in, which could be a problem because if that rent now doesn't cover your payment, you got an issue. If it still does, you're fine. Or if you can find other rentals to compare it to that are in a similar condition then you're okay, but
Okay.
it's really what they're looking for is what is the area market rent for a property like what you're buying.
Gotcha.
How long of a rent do you need to get that loan?
What do you mean?
So let's say it's a little dilapidated and he finds the money, renovates it, gets it to market and gets a tenant in there. 1 month in, you can do the loan or do seasoning of.
As far as the renovation, for us, the renovations are, no, there's really not a seasoning. So if they're renovating a house or doing some work to it, that's when the rent schedule would be, you'd redo it. As long as that rent amount coming in is higher than the payment going out, it's pretty much what would work. So even if it's ugly and they haven't done the work, if the rent amount for the area is high enough that even in the condition it might be in, still covers the payment, you're still good. And this loan, the one thing I'll note is it used to be when it first came out for us, you couldn't be a first-time investor. Now, it was pretty easy to have experience, meaning if you had an investment property for like one property ever or for a year, you were considered experienced. It's not like you had a multiple. Now they do allow first-time investors. They just require, instead of just a 1.0 coverage ratio, meaning as long as your rent is $1 more than your payment, you're good. That works for a season for someone who's not a first-time investor. If you're a first-time investor, they want that to be 1.25, so they want more of a cushion. But you can still do it, you just need to have a better ratio on that service coverage aspect of it.
Gotcha.
So,
And Mr. J, would you like to share some of the products that you all have, under your, some of the products that you all, like Aaron just shared some of the products that she would have.
We do construction loans,
Construction loan.
we do we do land loans. That's the except loan today. And I guess it's better what, I think it's easier to say what I don't do.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I don't respect a lot of properties that have very difficult conflict. A boarding house, a daycare center, an old age home, we pretty much do. Other than that, I've done anything. I used to have a first mortgage company called a little mortgage.
cool.
Yeah. No, I was thinking that sometimes we have some investors that come to us that want to do the remodel. We can send them to you to get pre-approval. Once we give them away, they got it finished and clean and rented.
Yeah, for sure. And you do commercial too, right?
I do
Then,
commercial.
yeah. No, we don't, that's a totally different animal, so. We're basically doing owner occupied, second homes, investment properties that are held for rental. I mean, it's short-term and long-term rentals, you can buy a house for Airbnb, we don't care, but you just have to. But yeah.
And I guess with the product that you have, as far as credit score, things of that nature, there's certain credit score that you all look for, or certain bank statement that you look for.
Unless the deal gets really complicated, we don't look for that stuff. I pull it and I look at it, and that's it. If the loan starts getting a little more complicated, where I get uncomfortable, then I might start asking. I don't know the last time I asked for a banking statement.
Okay.
It really.
So let's say I'm a buyer, I come to you, I have a property I want to purchase. What's gonna be your question? Like, what would you
My
do?
question would be, I'm gonna leave you at the property, and you're gonna tell me what you're gonna do. You're gonna give me a budget, what you're gonna do. I'm gonna then approve the loan or not approve the loan. Then I have a third party inspector that goes over the budget, make sure the budget's correct, and we make drawings, just like any bank does. And he approves the draw. And that's also good for the borrower and good for myself, because it helps the borrower to make sure that the work that was done was done properly. That's pretty much it. And but I did it.
So if you call us, I think the only documents we really ask is to see a credit score, get your application, and then depending if it's just a purchase or if it's a renovation or a rental or commercial development, whatever it is, there's specific things we'll need from that budgets, plans, et cetera. But for just, let's say you're buying a property and you know, gonna sit on it, rent it eventually, whatever it is, then, you know, you tell us what you think the value is, we check it ourselves. If it's kind of outside of our wheelhouse, that I don't have a ton of comps, we'll reach out to a local agent to help us, you know, double the valuation of it, and then we'll tell you if we've got interest, what we're thinking of, you know, loan to value and rates, and then if you agree to that, then just move towards closing.
I think we did your loan about cost stabilization.
Yep.
Is that correct?
You all mentioned that to me. Yeah, I was,
Yeah.
I don't think I put up the collateral, I think you mentioned it to me.
Right.
But, I went with the other product that you all had.
So with a lot of loans, you know, 70% loan to values are max. These days we're covering around 65%. And sometimes there's enough equity, you know, you're buying for a great deal that it could go with no money there. We'd like to see some skin in the game, but sometimes it's just, you know, you got a great deal and you really don't need to put any cash in. For the times you do get cash down, you have another property, we can collateralize it and in lieu of cash. And we can also sometimes put a release clause, we can just have, you know, got $1 million property, I don't want to put it up for $100,000 loan. And we'll say, okay, we'll give you a release, if you paid on the loan by X, call it 50, then we'll release that property. That way you don't feel like you have to throw everything at it. And also, if you've got a first mortgage already, in some instances, we'll do a second mortgage if there's a decent amount of equity and the first is relatively low. So I think what separates us from most lenders, not only regular mortgages, but other hard money lenders, the creative financing. A lot of lenders don't do those small down. Fits in their box and they do it, or they don't, and they pass it back. So we really work the loans to make it work for the borrower, to get them to where they need to be.
So you all do have products in that where the borrower wouldn't have to bring in cash, their cash to the table. So we do that. Yeah, we do. Aaron, with the products that you have, I think yours, the minimum for the investment.
Yeah, for the investment properties, you're looking at, if it's a conventional investment, technically 15% is the lowest down payment. It's pretty almost impossible to get one at 15% right now, just because of where rates are, because the rates will cost so much at 15%. It's kind of funky because of how quickly the rates went up this last year. It all goes back to like the back end of the market and the bond market and, you know, where they're selling the loans and everything and how high the rates can go. So they're gonna cap out. And then obviously they'll just become more expensive, like where instead of the rate going higher, there's no market for anything over like 8.125 in the conventional realm. So that's pretty much the highest rate I'll see right now, but if you're doing a lowest minimum down payment, say you don't have stellar credit score, that rate's gonna cost you probably 4 points right now, which then pushes us into a high cost mortgage loan, you got issues, so you've got either gotta get the seller to pay some of that, whatever. Generally, I'm telling people, you really need 20%. That's really the rule of thumb is what you want. You're gonna get a better term and rate on that conventional. The Smart Vest, which is the DSCR, is gonna want 20%. And it is, credit score driven, so, and loan amount. So like, as long as your loan amount under $1 million, 20% worse, as long as your credit score is over, I think, 680. Then if you're over $1 million, then they want a little bit more money down. If you have a 1 to 4 unit property, it's gonna be 25% minimum, which is also conventional anyways, but, so you're really looking at 20% down for this stuff.
The other thing that we'll allow people to do is have a seller take back a second mortgage. On several occasions, in fact, it's usually us to give the merchant, so why don't you see if the seller takes it, I will take back a second. So I'm gonna talk about that, give it a shot, and a lot of times it works.
So tell us, how does that deal work out? How does that?
Let's say we want to do a 65% loan to value, and the purchaser doesn't have enough money for up to the 35%, but he doesn't have enough money for 20%. We'll have the seller take back a second mortgage for 15% of that. Again, we'll have we'll have the seller take back a second mortgage to something 15%. And to make the seller more comfortable, we'll if something goes wrong and fixing the contract, we'll know about it. So to make sure that it's done. It usually happens on bigger deals, yeah.
When a seller thinks he's getting top dollar for a sale, and he thinks he may not get a better buyer, then he's willing to, put a little bit of money or money that he would have had coming to him, leave it in the deal. He said, I'd probably lose that to the next lowest bidder anyway, so yeah, to keep it as a second mortgage, I'll get it in a year from now instead of now, but at least they get that money.
Right. Okay, we've had real estate agents, say more on the commercial end, that clients that they've had for years, and now the clients got in some sort of trouble. We had one where this commercial. Lender that he had was calling the note, unless he gave him a right of worship to develop a problem, not develop a property, is 60,000 warehouse in Atlanta. And so we came in and paid and made a new mortgage. And then he came back, he was going to move his business to another town, and then we lent him some more money to make the move and buy that piece of property. And then
And he had a couple extensions, he eventually got it done.
and he got it done. End of the game, he was able to sell the warehouse in Atlanta for $2.5 million.
I think it's close
Close to $3 million. And what we did is bought the time to go through that. Because it took a while.
He also had no credit because he did everything for cash. So it's not that he had bad credit, he just had no credit.
Okay.
And our building has some EPA stuff that I was willing to handle. I'm looking at it. I made some mistakes and learned from them, and now I know how to help you.
Yeah. All right. And you know what, are there any questions before I keep going? Did anybody have any questions?
Well, I had a question about the types of loans. Now, I'm working with somebody right now who needs an equipment loan, I don't know if that's something that y'all do, not necessarily real estate, but,
I have never done that,
okay,
but I would ask the guy, does he have a relative that would pull up this property as collateral? I've had relatives put a guarantee a loan, where because the main borrower didn't own the real estate. So you could have that. I know I've got somebody that does some, factory, that would help that, I mean, years ago. And equipment, there are a lot of people. I just do that. I have taken equipment as extra collateral, which is bad,
yeah, okay,
but not special.
okay, yeah, it's kind of smaller stuff, so.
So a typical transaction, and walk us through, what does it look like with you? If I'm a buyer, I'm coming to you, looking to get financing for a piece of property, what does that typical transaction look like?
So, for us, when we're introduced to a client or a client calls us, we're kind of talking through the process, which is really an online application is the best start to getting pre-approved for anything, whether you're buying a house to live in or you want to buy an investment property, you want to do portfolio stuff. Either way, same application. It's like a 15 to 20 minute. I would send them the link. Depending on what kind of loan they're doing, if they're doing a more traditional, conventional investment property loan, we're asking for W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements, the stuff you all know me. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac needs it. So we're asking for, some basic documents, depending on how the client earns money. Are they salaried? Do they own a business? That'll depend. If they don't own a business and don't have a bunch of rental properties, I don't need taxes. If they do own a business, they're self-employed, or they've got other rental properties that they want to use income from, then I am getting the taxes and I'm calculating first from that too. So it's really application, documents. Nowadays, we pre-underwrite everybody. So basically, once we've got that app in, we've got the documents in, I'm sending the loans through underwriting. I tell people it can take a week. Yesterday, I submitted one and already got the approval. So it just kind of depends. But we like to get them fully underwritten for really the max price they're wanting to go to, or the max we can qualify them. That way, once they get out there, if y'all are taking them out and showing them properties, they can be, compete better with, say, cash or whatever, we can close, we can get an appraisal back. You could do a 5-day due diligence and, close in less than 2 weeks. We're good. If they're doing the smart bet loan, the portfolio loan, I don't need any income tax. I don't need any taxes. I just am getting a copy of their driver's license and pulling credit. I do need bank statements because I need to see that they have the assets for the purchase as well as reserves. Depending on how many other properties they have, that will depend on how many reserves. So it's 6 months for the property they're buying, meaning 6 months worth of what the payment is going to be on the new property. So say it's a payment of $3 grand, I need 18 grand to show as reserve for the property they're buying. And then I need 2 months for each additional property they own. So if they own another 5, let's say they own another 3. I need another 6 months. And I say that because it'll max out at 15 months, no matter how many they own. So if they own 10 more, I don't need 20 months more. I just need to get, once I get to 15 months, we're good. And reserves, just so y'all are aware, that's money that they can have in accounts that they're not using for this. I just need to see that it's sitting there. It can be stocks, it can be retirement. It doesn't have to be liquid, that they can pull out. That's something that they could get to if they had to, even by penalty. So same thing on that one. There's not really a pre-underwrite to be done on those because it's really based on the property. So, if they're doing the smart best loan, we're pulling credit, we're gathering all the assets, we're running numbers and saying, okay, here's where we are. Find the property you want. Let's say find that property, appraisal's done, the rent schedule is part of that. Then we can make sure that our debt service ratio is in line. And as long as it is, we're just, get title and all that good stuff from the attorneys, and we can close those fairly quickly too after the appraisal.
And that process from beginning to end is roughly about how long?
On the conventional one, depending on now, it's different if they come to us and say, hey, I found a property, I need to get it pre-approved, because obviously we're not pre-underwriting them. We're pre-approving them, we're having them do the app, you know, any docs that are necessary. Again, if they're salaried, I'll give a pre-approval letter based on what they're telling me if I have to. But a lot of the stuff, the asset verification, through the online application, it'll allow them to authorize electronic asset verification, electronic employment verification. So there's a lot that can be done right now through the system without all the extra docs. So if they have, you know, big banks, Chase, you know, pretty much any of the, not normal, but, you know, common banks, they'll all be able to authorize that. Meaning they don't have to literally send me bank statements. They can just go in there and authorize, you know, and then the system will pull in 30 days or 60 days or whatever they get. So theoretically, when they do an application, if they're salaried and they work for a company that allows that, I can have employment verification done already. I can have asset verification done already, which is really the two main ones. And then I've got their credit report. So I can get them pre-approved very quickly, same day. And then, you know, if they're, like I said, if they're coming to me, they're not already pre-approved, they already have the property, they're making an offer, get them the pre-approval letter, they'll make that offer. I mean, we can still close in 2 weeks. It's just gonna be, you know, we'll want either 5 or 7 days for due diligence or financing for them. I'm just more conservative. I want that earnest money protected, so if I haven't underwritten you, even if you look perfect, you know, I've had enough people that don't tell me things sometimes that pop up later when in underwriting, when they're running all these checks that borrowers don't know we run, that I want their earnest money protected, even if they're telling me everything. Sometimes they don't. So that's the difference, which is why we pre-underwrite so much now on standard stuff. If they come to us, which is ideally what we want them to come to us before they're actually in your car and you're showing them property, so we can get them all fixed up. You know, they know what their finances are, then you take them out and they're already approved and they're ready to go. It's easy, it's smooth, everyone's happy. But if they're not pre-approved, you know, you can still do a 2-week closing. We just want that 5 to 7 days to be able to get them through underwriting on the front end. Yeah. Yeah.
Going back to your question, I would suggest if anything like that would come off the track, to give us a call. Because I did make a long time with some Girl Scout cookies.
Wow.
They were in a warehouse, and the guy was gonna get paid when the Girl Scouts paid him, and I don't remember whether I collateralized it with a piece of real estate or not. But it started off as this guy's got some sells cookies to Girl Scouts. The cookies are in a warehouse, and you can't get the warehouse to release them. Somehow I put that deal together, and I don't remember whether it had any real estate with it.
I want to know which times can someone be worth more.
Yeah. But I would say just give me a call, and I might be able to, talking to your lawyer, figure out another way to get the deal done.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just not a brainstorm, and don't ever say, Jay, I apologize for calling you for this. Don't ever say that I like to talk.
Yes.
And you have fulfilled one of my addictions, which is talking. So it's fine, but I do like to figure out stuff that's not normal, just like we did with over there. And I have another friend that used to do accounts payable. I might be able to say that if the guy's got any accounts receivable, call Dutch, and he might be able to. So I might be able to give you some advice to take the person someplace else so the job gets done. And I might not necessarily participate in that charge.
One question for you, Mr. J. I know you went through a lot of detail on the property and a lot of the transactions that you do. What does your typical buyer, what does a typical client for you look like? Is there a typical client? Is there a wide range of a client?
It has to be someone that's got a passion for what they're doing.
Okay.
And likes what they're doing. That's number one. That's number one to me. Number two, I like to see some credit, but that's pretty damn or total, some experience, or if they haven't got the experience, then their contractors got it. We've had clients that were doing their first flip, and they obviously to me didn't know what they were doing. But when I met with their contractor, I got confidence in the contractor. And so really what I was making the loan through in my head was the contractor, because I would make him the loan in a minute. So I'm looking from some experience or a substitute for that experience. And we've even have told people who you might want to try this particular contract. But it takes passion to do what you want to do. You have to like what you're doing. And so that's what I call it, contract. Right. Have you ever done this before? No. If the contractor done it before, yeah. We have a line, yeah. We'll make sure your contractor's there when we meet them. Like you said, tell them not to tell me everything.
And to tell me everything.
Tell me everything. I had a lady that was calling me. She was moving houses. And I said, how'd you get in the house moving business? And she said, well, I was bidding on the house and I kept getting more papers and more papers from the city. And they said they said, congratulations, you got all 20 houses. She didn't realize that she was buying 20 houses. I said, what did you do then? She said, I asked him who was the next bidder below me. And so she then calls the next bidder below her. She does a joint venture with the guy. I thought that was a stroke of genius. So she comes back to me for another loan. She doesn't tell me she's in foreclosure. And by the time I found out she was in foreclosure, it was like 2 days before. If I wanted to do something, I couldn't do it. But I would have done it for her because of how she handled that other problem. I would have lent her the money to get her out of foreclosure, but she forgot to tell me. And I found out, of course. And so just make sure they tell me that's all. Because I can't evaluate the zero. It's hard to evaluate the zero, but I can evaluate. I am in foreclosure now, and I need some help to get out of foreclosure.
Just on that foreclosure piece, do you do loans like that where people go to the courthouse steps and find them at the steps? Have you ever done any of those?
I have done that, and I've done it in the past. That's a really deep relationship. It's not something you can do just off the flip. I have to really know the person and have to avoid it before. If someone is buying properties in the courthouse steps and they've got a release of properties, that's really clear, that I can lend against that, and then do the swap after they buy it. But to give somebody a line of credit that I haven't had some long relationship with.
And so we've had a few people ask us about that, and we tell them, if you got property, let's pre-approve you, we'll see the property, we'll tell you what we do, here's terms, everything, so that the day they want to go buy something, they can get a quick loan. Everything's been done, everything's been researched, everything's been underwritten, just got a full title if it hasn't already. They're planning to do it, and then just close a couple days before, have the money on hand. But
I have a question. So like, I was thinking of an agent that I work with that has another deal, it doesn't involve me going, but where they're trying to sell a property that the woman has equity in, but is in foreclosure. Like her foreclosure proceedings have started because she lost her job, blah, 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 blah. So, but she's trying to get the house sold, they've got a buyer and everything, and honestly, what's delaying them is the bank, which is Truist, because they're trying to get a payoff to close, and they're giving them just a runaround saying, oh, you need to go to our foreclosure attorney to get the payoff, and then they're sending them back and forth, back and forth. So my question is that something you guys would be able to do, a short loan to the buyer to pay off with a past due to stop the foreclosure? She's already got it ready to be sold, and a buyer, and she stands to make about 110 grand. Yeah, she's got about 110 grand equity. I don't know what the sales price is. I may talk to you after this because the agent is like, they're just pulling their hair out over the last 10 days back and forth with this bank and like the date's coming up next week. And they think that the bank is purposely dragging their feet because, normally banks don't want to foreclose, but the mortgage is so small now compared to what they're selling it for that they're like, oh, they'll still make money. I don't know if that's true, but.
We can bring to the table with a situation like that. I've got a lawyer that also lives with foreclosure. And he can get through that stuff a lot of times. He can call the lawyer versus the buyer, no, he's got to do all that junk. If you're using a normal real estate lawyer, that doesn't happen.
Well, that's what I just suggested too. I was like, maybe she needs to get a lawyer to deal with the
Oh,
bank.
she definitely.
Yeah, because I just feel, to me, I'm like, that's very unjust if that's what is happening, because they're literally trying to close, like her buyer, but they can't close because the real estate attorney doing the closing cannot get a payoff. Yeah, I don't know, but I'll find out. We can chat after
We
this.
can
Yeah.
talk.
So technically, the time frame that holds us back is title. So the title's already been run.
My
Then
understanding,
it's just a matter of like
yeah,
getting,
it's literally, they can't get the payoff from Truist to be able to close the property.
Sure, it has to be there.
That's what
And
I'm
yeah,
saying.
and if you have a lawyer that's strong enough, they tell them,
That's
their
what I'm
lawyer
saying.
have to do it, then it'll happen. I don't know why we try to do that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Like they're saying it went to their like foreclosure department, okay, I get that, not the standard payoff people. But then that department of Truist apparently is saying, well, they've got an attorney, so they can't give the payoff because it has to include the attorney fees for the foreclosure. So they're saying you have to go to here's our attorney, you gotta get the payoff from them. They contact the attorney, and they're like, no, we don't do that, you have to get it from Truist. And they're like,
I'll give you this.
okay, cool. So, but I would love to help, just crazy. Yeah.
Any other questions? I know we got about 5 minutes. left.
Yeah, what's the typical loan size that you provide?
Typical loan size.
Loan size?
Anywhere from $50,000 to $2 million, $2 million deals. I have a heart that I bring.
and we do have partnerships with other lenders who do a little bit bigger than we could possibly do.
That's a good question, Aaron, for you too. What's the deal size for you?
So, like the smart vest, gosh. I should have looked at that before I came in. It's either 2 or 3 million. Obviously the conventional Fannie Mae's are gonna be, the 726, 200, the standard conforming loan limit.
Is there a minimum?
On the smart vest, I think it's like 75 or 100,000.
And that's for the rental properties?
That's for the portfolio loan for the smart vest, yeah. If they're doing a conventional, it's, probably 55 to 60,000.
Okay. As the
Minimum loan amount.
Any other questions? I got one other question for you, Mr. J.
Jay.
If, we have some people here who are interested in maybe, let's say they got some extra cash and they wanna do private money lending, is there a way that they could possibly get started with that? You have any advice and anything?
You mean to do what I do?
To do what you do.
Just tell me, give me a call,
I'll give you a call.
and I'll tell them everything I know. About 15 minutes.
He just.
Everything I need to know.
Asterisk, 15.
My accountant, Jimmy Arrighetti, used to teach it at Georgia State, just in the hobby. And he said the teachers, he would get the following questions from the students every quarter. Mr. Arrighetti, we understand you're a very good businessman. Is that true? And he would say, yes. Mr. Arrighetti, how did you get to be such a good businessman? He said, through experience. The next question was, Mr. Arrighetti, how did you get the experience? Through bad decisions. So I can tell them what not to do.
Any other questions, Mark? Good. And before we break, Aaron, you want to share how anyone can get in contact with you?
Yeah, for sure. I still don't have onward business cards, so if y'all don't have mine, we just had a name change. If y'all, but I can give you my shelter ones, they're the same number, but, yeah, call me up, my cell phone number. Obviously, our emails are fine. However you want to get a hold of me is totally fine, text, call, whatever. I've got my phone back there, so if you don't have me in your phone and you want me to shoot you off my electronic card, just come over there and I'll send it to you before we leave.
And Jay, you want to tell our guests how they can get in touch with you?
I would suggest you call Matt. Or you can send him an email. If you want to talk to somebody, you call me. But the email stuff is, send me an email. Matt really, puts everything together.
Now, we want to share how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, you want email and phone?
Yeah, sure.
I can always just send a flyer, information, however you want to do it.
Oh, you get, give it to them and then,
Okay. Cell phone is 561-901-8482. And then, Nata, Nata, at libproperties.com.
yeah, you can send me the flyer, I can the flyer out there.
Sounds good.
My phone number is J Kepler. 404-277-1804. Email address is jay@lib.properties.com.
I appreciate you all coming out, taking time to talk to us today, educating us on,
I learned that too, I like that.
yeah. All right, and, yeah. Snacks over here, if anybody has anything? Yeah, appreciate you all coming out.
Fantastic. Thank you. You said it's LIB as in boy.
LIB.
LIB as in boy.
Oh, we've got some.
B.
Yeah, I've got, yeah.
I got some.
Oh, wait, some.
Oh, yes, the flyers, right?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that'll make it easier.
Yeah.
LIV will send it somewhere else.